Knittress, and this is my channel on the internet where I like to talk about yarn. You can find me on the internet as Andi the Knittress in most places, as well as the Knotty Knittress on Instagram, Facebook, and my website, theknottyknittress.com. This is a special episode. This is my Just Add Color 2023 experience that I am so excited to share with you all. I am joining you today from the floor in my bedroom in front of my little yarn collection because it is the only quiet place in the house today. So I have all of this gorgeous yarn to show you. I get to talk about it all and let you know about some of the amazing people behind all of these gorgeous colors. So this year's experiment, I can't decide on what I want to call it, but it's it's a play with color. So they used 3 colors. They were to dye 100-gram skein of fingering weight yarn, preferably one that was blended with nylon, because in the end I'm going to make everybody a pair of socks out of their skein. And they were to use either true black or jet black, Dharma or Jacquard, and then Sapphire. There's a Sapphire blue both with Dharma and Jacquard, and then either tan jello or salmon because they were kind of close to each other. Again, all of these dyes would have been on Dharma and Jacquard. They could mix them together, use the colors as is, any depth of shade, negative space on the yarn was fair play. I put this out, I think it was in the beginning of June, and had a lot of people sign up, and I have finally got all of their yarns in, and I'm ready to show them to you. Now, it was a little hard for me to get everything going kind of during the summer. I think that next year I'm going to do it earlier in the year. I'm thinking January, February, just because I think that is a slower time for most yarn dyers. So I think you guys will get another episode of Just Add Color way sooner in the year next year. So I'm gonna go in the order that the Google Docs, I put out a Google form, and everybody that wanted to participate signed up, and so just the order that they were received is the order that I am going to go in, and I will do Here in Colors Dyeworks and mine at the end. So first up, I can't think of if there's anything else that I need to say, but probably not. So first up we have Jennifer from Barley, Hops, and Yarn. And this is her gorgeous skein. Now I'm going to pop in a picture with all of these with a little bit of information on where you can find their where you can find them on Instagram, if they have a shop, if they have a YouTube. In case I forget to say it for every skein, I will really try to say everything for everybody, but sometimes when I get to jabbering, I forget. So this is Barley, Hops, and Yarn. This is her little logo there. Her name is Jennifer, and we have this gorgeous skein that is overall, I would call it black overall. There's some lovely speckles in there and some negative space, and then some of the spots where there's black and gray. And Jennifer is a small batch indie dyer based out of Mount Airy, and she says you can often find her knitting at breweries and such, which is how she came up with the name. So let's open this up and take a peek at it. So we have this lovely overall gorgeous skein of yarn. We've got some sections of black and some very crisp speckles in there. And I can't wait to see how this one knits up. I venture to say that this is going to do some really cool pooling in the socks. So each one of these skeins I will turn into a pair of socks for the dyer. Everybody sent me their shoe size. And now I will be making all of the socks with Lycra held throughout. Everybody's going to get a pair of socks so that you can see how they're worked out. And then I will send them all their lovely skein remnants and their socks, and then a couple of little goodies from me for participating in my experience. So again, this is Barley, Hops, and Yarn, and her name is Jennifer, and you can find her on Instagram. She also has a YouTube and an Etsy shop. So check her out. And I've got a little list of things. All right, next up we have this is TH Handcrafts, and I will probably pop the logo in the corner here because I do know that he has a little logo. His name is Thomas, and he is a friend of mine, him and his wife. They are like local friends of mine. And so Thomas is a craft hobbyist, blacksmith, family man. He does all the things. You can find him on Instagram, and if you are interested in any of the yarns that he has made, you could send him a message on Instagram. So this is his lovely skein. We've got mostly speckles and white on the one end, and then we've got some black and salmon on the other end. And this is probably going to create some really cool micro striping depending on you know, the gauge that it ends up being knit at. But I'm pretty sure that this will end up doing micro striping where you'll have a, you know, a row with the white and then a row with the black and the salmon, and that just turned out really nice. We've got super lovely speckles on there. So that is going to be exciting to see that knit up. And Thomas has dyed a few skeins of yarn. I actually have some of his yarn in my stash. I think it's right behind me, actually, right here. He dyed me a colorway for It's Corn. So there's like a green mini and a yellow in there. So that's TH hand. I said TH Handcrafts. It's TH Crafts. I don't know why I always want to say hand. It's the H. It's his initials, TH Crafts. So that's lovely. And his wife, Amber, dyed the next one, and she is from Waning Gibbous Creations. And this is her beautiful skein. I love the overall peachy hue on this skein. You've got a little bit of the speckles in the blue and the black, and let's see. Amber is a stay-at-home mom, and she dabbles in fiber arts. She is a really awesome knitter. She's made me some samples before. I know she does sample work for other people. She also does really cool crocheted creatures. But you can see we've got some lovely sections in here with some speckles and some of that blue that popped through. I think that this is going to make a really very beautiful sock. And that again is Amber from Waning, Gibbous. I'm pretty sure it's Gibbous Creations. I do this every time just because I doubt myself on how to pronounce words. All right, so this episode is going to be kind of like quick, show you, the skein, tell you a little bit about each person, and then just move on really quickly because I've got a lot to get through. So next up we have Laura from Always Be Kind Yarn, and this is her lovely skein here. And now you guys will have to excuse some of the labels are wrinkled because I've had to photograph everything. So that is her logo there. Always Be Kind Yarn. And Laura is, she says, I dye yarn inspired by her late daughter and suicide awareness prevention. Her favorite color is rainbow, and many of the colors are dyed in rainbow and bright, happy colors. Laura is an amazing person. She donates regularly to suicide awareness and prevention charities and such. So we have this gorgeous skein here where we have a section speckled and then a lot of blue here. So when I open this up, you're going to see it's kind of like a palindrome where it will repeat from the blue to the blue. So when that is knit up, it's going to definitely do some striping. And this is a long skein, so that's going to definitely help, figure this will be a row of stitches, this color here, and then we'll have this, and then it'll go back to the blue. When you do the longer skeins, there's a more of a chance to have that micro striping action when you dye it in a fashion like this, versus a shorter skein where when they're short skeins and they're dyed like that, sometimes that leads to like a zigzag pooling around a sock circumference. So we've got this lovely shade of blue that she achieved. And you can find Laura on Instagram. I know she does lives frequently. She has a website. I don't know if she's on YouTube. I will have it. Everything will be linked down below, of course. So again, this is Laura from Always Be Kind Yarn. And she is sort of a local friend to me. She's up in the Eugene area. And we see each other a couple of times, maybe once or twice a year at fiber festivals usually. One of these days we're going to get together in person. Just, we're both pretty busy gals. So, I don't know if anybody have named their skein so far. There wasn't a name on Jennifer's, and I'm pretty sure Amber and Thomas named theirs, and I will have put it on the screen when I showed theirs because I will message and ask. But this one is just called Just Add Color 2023. And I don't know if anybody will be selling their colorways on their websites, but if you absolutely end up loving the way one of them worked out, I am sure if you reach out to the individual dyer, they would be happy to make it for you. Most of us are happy to dye yarn when requested. All right, so next up we have Amby Marie Knits. That is my other friend Amber. I've got a couple of Ambers in here. So that is Amby Marie Knits. You can find her on Instagram and YouTube. She also has an Etsy shop. And this is her beautiful skein. I just love, it's very delicate looking. I just love the way you have the white in there with the salmon or the tangelo. I don't know which colors people used unless they told me. And then if they did, it's probably on personal notes that I didn't pull out. So I'm just gonna say the salmon or tangelo. But this is her beautiful skein. Amby started dyeing in 2020 just for fun, and she had an Etsy shop for a little while. She still does have an Etsy shop, but she decided that she just likes it better when she's dyeing for specific projects or a specific person. So if there is something that you like that she made, I am sure you could reach out to her and get that. I think that this is going to do some really fun pooling in the sock. So I really love this part right here. I don't know why. This peach is one of my favorite colors to wear. Like salmons and peaches, it's one of my favorite shades to wear. I don't knit with it often, but it is definitely one of my, like I will buy a dress or a shirt in that shade often. So I am rather attracted to the way that looks. So again, this is Amby Marie Knits, and you can find her on Instagram and YouTube. She has a nice little podcast, very short, to the point, super nice. See what she's working on. She was showing us her garden for a little while. So yeah, that is Amby Marie Knits. And next up, we have, make sure I'm not skipping pages. We have Shannon from Southern Charm Yarn Co. Fuzzy fuzzy. Southern Charm Yarn Co. I really love what we've got going here. You can find her on Instagram as Defy Gravity, and she has called this colorway Swagger, and it is on her Good Gracious Fingering. So I'm just loving what I see here. We've got some dark on the end, on this end, and then light on this end, which means it's gonna be another sort of, it's sort of like a palindrome where you get the blue on both ends of the skein, but then in between you've got coral and black, a salmon and black, which means it was likely dyed this way, where you had the black on one end and the salmon on the other. And we've got some lovely speckles happening in here. I really like these soft speckles. I'm hoping that that is focusing for you all. And Shannon is the dyer behind Southern Charm Yarn Co. And she's trying to get her little business going. So I believe you can find her on Etsy. And you can find her on Instagram as well. I love the contrast that you get in this skein from that really dark and then that vibrant coral and then the gorgeous just kiss of speckle. I'm not great at speckling very lately. I tend to be a heavy speckler. I say that, and then I didn't on my skein. You'll see when I get to that. So again, this is Southern Charm Yarn Co. I will get this right. Sometimes my brain likes to make up words. All right, next up we have Coral from Inkblot Yarn Co. And this is Coral's beautiful skein. And Coral was a dyer from last year as well. And this is the Just Add Color 2023 colorway. Coral is a knitter that fell in love with dyeing as a crochet or as a creative outlet during grad school. Then she decided to turn it into a small business. During the normal day, she does research to try to understand how we can improve the outcomes for premature babies. Before dyeing, she was already a knitter and a spinner and a novice crocheter. She started dyeing as a way to relieve stress and express some creativity. So, to let that creativity flow, she doesn't write recipes or name her colorways. She wants each crafter to be able to interpret the colors however they see them, digging into their own creative energies and inspiring their making without her having a creative influence pushing them in any one direction. So that is, I remember that from last year. She does not dye her yarn with names. She wants you to see what you see when you look at it. That's where her name comes from. It's the Inkblot Yarn Co. So this is her gorgeous skein. It's just an overall, like, got a pastel vibe, very light in the colors, not deeply saturated, which is a really fun. It's hard to not have well, not hard, but it's not easy to have not saturated colors with the colors that were chosen because they're generally a very saturated color. So you have to do a light depth of shade to achieve these lovely, very light shades in there. So I think that that is beautiful, and I can't wait to see this knit up. It looks like it might do some really fun overall, like an overall color of the sock. I have a general idea what most skeins will do when I'm going to knit them in a sock before I knit them in a sock, but sometimes they surprise me. So this is again Coral from Inkblot Yarn Co. You can find her on Instagram, and I do believe she has an Etsy as well. Next year when I make my form, I will put all of that information in the form for people to fill out so that I have it in front of me when I go to talk about it. All right. I do have little, picture cards that will have all of that information. And then, of course, everything will be linked down below. All right. Next, we have Amy from Three Tulips Yarn Company, which is another returning dyer from last year's project. I love this. It's so vibrant, so saturated. And this was bloomed on August 4th, 2023. I really love that about Amy's yarn because it's the flowers, the tulips, the three tulips. The yarn were bloomed on the date that she dyes them, which I just think that that's super cool. And her wool is sourced in the United States and dyed in Pennsylvania. So Amy is the yarn dyer from Three Tulips Yarn Co. She has a home studio and she dyes in small batches in 4 weights. And she does custom orders or and lots of other things. She absolutely loves knitting socks, and she is the host of a summer sock knit along. She's also going to host a slip into fall this year where you use DK or worsted weight. For those details, you can check out her website, Three Tulips Yarn Company.com. And she is a mom of 3 and she loves tulips, and that is where her name comes from, Three Tulips. And she also has 3 dogs, and she likes to do collaborations with her local small businesses, and she also does collection boxes. So check out her website for all of that. This is going to definitely do some micro striping. when it's knit. We've got the blue on the two ends of the skein with this section of the salmon, so it'll do blue and then salmon and then blue and then salmon. It's going to be super fun. Sort of getting tiger lily vibes from this section in here, which I really like. And then this vibrant punch of blue. That's going to be so fun in a sock. So again, this is Amy of 3 Tulips Yarn Co. And you can find her on Instagram and Facebook and her website and all of that. I will try to have all of the links down below. Sometimes I might just put the link to their link tree if they happen to have that. That way it's easier to find all of the places they are at. All right, so next up we have Stars Grove Fibers, and this is Rebecca. And again, I am sorry, some of the labels are very wrinkly. It is my fault. So, this is Stars Grove Fibers. And she says, "Hi, my name is Rebecca, and I am the dyer behind Stars Grove Fibers. She started dyeing during the pandemic when she couldn't find what she was looking for, and she fell in love with dyeing. She loves dyeing yarn based off of the season or a theme. She's a longtime crocheter, a newer knitter, and she lives in Connecticut with her husband and her son. She has named this lovely color Sunset on the Lake." And I just like the overall vibe of this. It gives me very sunset vibes, like nighttime, moody vibes. I really, really like that. And I think that we've got the coral or the tangelo here. It looks like maybe they were mixed with some of the black to kind of tone it down, to darken it up a little. It does look a little blown out on this end, but I will of course have pictures in there for you guys to see. I really think that this is going to make a very pretty sock. I think they're all going to be pretty socks. I really do. I'm excited for that. So again, this is Rebecca from Stars Grove Fibers. You can find her for sure on Instagram, on Etsy, I believe, and next year I'm going to make my form better so everything is in front of me because I have little forms here that I printed out. They answered all the questions, which I have the answers covered up because there's also address information there. And had them fill that out. So next year I'll have all of the links and questions and stuff. That way I can get it correct when I'm giving it to you. So again, Stars Grove hand-dyed fibers. Okay. Next up, we have Caffeinated Craft Mama, and that is Tamara. I really hope that I'm saying that right. Maybe it's Tamara. I'm gonna go with Tamara. I do believe that you can find her on Instagram, and I think Instagram, and yes, she has a YouTube channel as well. So she is a stay-at-home mom, and she knits and crochets, and she shares her yarny adventures on her YouTube channel, the Caffeinated Craft Mama. So this is her beautiful skein, very lovely, saturated, gorgeous colors. Let's open this up and take a peek. We've got a little touch of bear yarn in there. We've got mostly blue along this long edge here, separated by some short black sections and then into a long Tangelo salmon section there. This is gonna do some fun things in a sock. It'll probably do a little bit of micro striping, maybe some cool zigzag pooling. Depends on the tension of the sock. So that is just beautiful. Oh, I really love when the black ends up next to the salmon colors. That's just, I really like that. So that is Caffeinated Craft Mama. And of course, I will have all of the links down below. I'm going to say it every time just because I'm gonna. All right, next up we have Amber from Ozone Mama. And this one she's calling Patriotic Peach. So that is her logo there, Ozone Mama. And she is a long-time self-taught knitter who fell in love with dyeing during the pandemic. I think that that is the case for a lot of us. All right, so we've got this gorgeous, very soft skein overall. We've got a touch of speckles here on the one end, and I really like that she's called it Patriotic Peach because it kind of does with the blue and the bear yarn. A little bit of it gives a patriotic feel. I get that. Just a touch of speckles in there. Very, very pretty. So let's see, what do we think this one's gonna do when we knit it up? That's hard to say. I bet you will have, it'll kind of look overall like very similar to the skein in general. So like it'll have more of a solid look, I think, rather than a stripy look, if that makes any sense. Sometimes my words aren't there to explain accurately what I mean, but sometimes like when you have a skein, even though you see a couple of different colors and it is variegated, you still end up with an overall like solid color look to it when it's knit up. So that is Amber from Ozone Mama, and you can find her on Instagram, and then of course everything will be linked down below. All right, next up we have Hailey from Binky Bean. Hailey is another personal friend of mine. We don't get together nearly as often as we should, but she has a YouTube channel, and she says, "Oh, you know." So I will have something put up there about Hailey. She's got a YouTube channel. She has an amazing little co-host, her dog Maiden. She dyes beautiful colors for herself mostly. I don't know that she plans to dye in the future for other people, but you never know. I really like this skein. You get an overall dark feel to it. We've got just a touch of the salmon here and there, which is nice. And then we've got some of this lovely sapphire. And this is just very pretty. Let's see. I like to try and visualize how it was in the pan. So I think maybe like this. This is going to be a really fun, just a tiny touch here and there of the salmon. I like that. There was no requirements on how much or how little of the three colors that you needed to use. You just needed to use all three of them. So again, that is Hailey from Binky Bean. You can find her on YouTube and Instagram. Her YouTube channel is rather amusing. She doesn't post super regularly, but her episodes are thoroughly enjoyable when she does post. She always makes me smile and giggle. And plus, then I get to see Maiden, which is her awesome little dog. All right, next up we have Stephanie from Blackbird Sycamore. And Stephanie dyes lovely, lovely colors. I'm in love with all of her yarns. She has such a way with soft colors. It is not easy to dye soft colors. I don't think it is anyway, because I'm heavy-handed with the dyeing, with the speckling, with, it's hard to put just a touch of color on a skein sometimes. But she has such a way with yarn. So we've got a rather long skein here again, so that's going to help with some micro striping. And then I think we'll have like little bits of this lovely coral appearance, and then it'll go into some of the blue with a little bit of speckles here and there, just a touch of gray from the black. I think that's going to be very, very beautiful. Stephanie is from Blackbird Sycamore. She has an Etsy shop as well as a YouTube channel. She is also a nurse, and she's married 25 years, and she has 2 adult kids, and she loves animals and being out in nature. And I can't twist the skein as nice as she had it to fit in her lovely little labels. Let's see if I can get it a little more snug. All right. Just going to get cranked up into a cake here soon. But Stephanie has Crafty Cryptids Advent available on her Etsy shop, and I will show that to you there. You get 25 yarn mini skeins on the Super Sock base. There's 88 yards in each of them. So that's a fun little Advent calendar holiday box that will ship out by the end of October. I did see them still available on her Etsy shop yesterday, so go check that out. You also get a handmade project bag and some stitch markers and progress keepers. So go check out her Etsy shop. She has named this colorway Dawn Storm. So that's just beautiful. Yes, Etsy and Instagram, and she also has a YouTube channel. Yeah, I got it back in there. Okay, next up we have Lacey from Mermaid Tangles. So we've got, there's her beautiful little logo, that lovely little mermaid. And I love the idea of Mermaid Tangles. Like sometimes yarn, when it's in the pan, it looks like mermaid hair, and you're putting all these pretty colors on it. I'm hoping that's where her name came from. So you can find her on Instagram and as well as Etsy, I do believe. She says that she dyes things that she likes, and if you like it, then she'll dye some for you too. So I love the overall look of this skein. Kind of got everybody blended together. Really, really nice. Let's see, we've got a little bit of the black there, kind of concentrated. We've got the overall salmon and blue just kind of dispersed throughout. I think this is going to be a really gorgeous sock when all is said and done. We've got a little bit of the bare yarn there for to help even out those colors. I really just like how everything's kind of, it almost looks like it was already rehanged, even though it wasn't. And those of you who don't know, like if you rehank a skein after it's dyed, you can kind of get a more visible idea of what it could look like when it's knit up. Usually in a flat panel, is what it ends up being, or like a larger project when you rehank it, that gives you that idea. But that is a gorgeous color. I tried to go outside of my box this year with like yarn colors when making the choices. Now black is not outside of my box. I do dye, I do knit with black a lot, but the Sapphire and the Salmon, they're not colors I knit with very often, or request for Bobby to dye. So I was really trying to go outside of my box, because last year it ended up being basic Andi colors, purple and green and gray. So gotta adjust. I'm sitting on the floor. All right, next up we have Michelle from Maximum Yarnage, and Michelle is pretty awesome. She is got such an amazing eye for color. I love her Vlogmas episodes is how I found her last year, and she does this really awesome thing where she will roll her dice for like her D20, or what are they called? Oh my gosh, it's left my head. For like, you know, gaming, those kind of dice. It's there on the tip of my tongue, and I'm not going to remember. I'll pop it in a little bubble. Anyway, and she lets the dice decide how she mixes the colors, how she dyes the colors, which I think is super fun. So Michelle has loved color all her life, and she doesn't care what she's doing as long as she's working with color. She's a happy girl. Her current passion, though, includes whipped body butters and slime. Why? Because she's dry and she's always needs something to do with her hands. So if she's not knitting, she's playing with slime. I have been watching her stories and stuff, and saw that she's been doing some of that for some of her markets. So I love this overall color here. Oh, and she wrote me a note as to why she's named this Free Navy, and I'm gonna see if I can find her bag. Yay, it's right there, I think. Nope. Nope. 1 second. I'm gonna fast forward to this. Where is it? There it is. So, the colors reminded her of her favorite show called The Expanse. Her Rocinante colorway, Rose, I'm not saying it right, was similar, and so she had to call this one Free Navy. So it has a place in her heart. If you really love this colorway, check out her Etsy, because she does have an Etsy, she has a YouTube, and she is on Instagram. So let's open this up and take a peek. Oh, it's so pretty. Michelle is really amazing at mixing colors, like creating her own colors out of what she has, like different shades and hues. And I just really like. Now I think it's showing up a little brighter than it is in person here. It's a lot more moody, and kind of, it's got a more moody vibe overall than, it's not like super bright in your face. You can see some of the lovely little coral sections there. I'm going the wrong way. I always do that. Lots of little speckles. So this is Maximum Yarnage. You can find Michelle, Maximum Yarnage, on Etsy and Instagram. I think she might have her own website also. I don't know. I will have it all linked below. But yeah. All right. Next up, we have another Michelle, or Roxanne, or Roxy is her nickname, from Starlight and Scout. And she dyes Ancient Queen fibers, Starlight and Scout designs. She did this lovely yarn on a sparkle base. She says, "Hi, my name is Michelle. Roxanne, or Roxy is my nickname. She has been into art since she was a teeny kiddo, and she's been into fiber crafts for about 12 years now. She's an elementary art teacher and a parent of 2 kiddos, and she has recently decided to follow her heart and is working on starting her own art and design business, Starlight and Scout Design Co., and her own fiber art related business called Ancient Queen Fibers. She's brand new and she's just experimenting right now, and she's enjoying it and hoping that it will take her on a new adventure." So I do believe that you can find her on Instagram, and then I think if you would like to purchase any of her yarn, it's through her Ko-fi or Coffee account, and that'll all be linked, as well as you can find that information on her Instagram. So this one is on a sparkle base, and we've got lots of blue, big sections of the salmon and coral, just a touch of black there, just a touch here and there, which is nice. My skein's overall black, so it's so fun to open all of these and get them and see the difference. And now I've messed up the hank. Oh gosh. Okay. There. I think I fixed it. So we've got lovely, lovely colors here. I cannot wait to get these all knit up and show off the socks. I'm excited to show off the socks the most. So, but we've got to get through this part first so you guys can see what it looked like in a hank before, and then what it looks like in a sock, because that gives you guys an idea of, hey, I bought this skein, it looks kind of similar to the way that one's dyed. Oh, and I remember that when Andi made it in a sock, it did this cool pooling, or it did micro stripes, or it just kind of blended all over. So it gives you an idea when you look at a skein and you see how it's hanked up, how it's spread out, and then how it knits. All right, and then next up we have Andrea, the cat lady. Craft all the things, CATT. Andrea is from thecatlady.com. You can find her on Instagram. She has a YouTube channel, and she has Etsy as well. No, that's not correct. I think she has Square. I don't know that anything is available for purchase right now in her shop, but you could sure message her. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't mind. So, Andrea is a fiber-loving cat lady. She loves knitting, crocheting, spinning, and working on her circular sock machine, as well as playing video games and snuggling kitties. And you can find out all of that stuff on her YouTube channel. So this is her gorgeous skein. Let's see, we've got, oh nice, I like when skeins do this. And we've got 3 sections of color. But really, even though it's 3 sections of color, that blue is going to repeat twice in between the salmon and the black, because, you know, of the way that the hank is, you'll get a section of coral and then you'll go blue and then you'll get black and then back to blue and then coral and then back to blue. So really, if you were knitting, sometimes the black and the coral may never touch each other because the blue will separate them. So that'll be really fun to see that worked up. She has called this Shadows at Dawn. Oh, I like that. I really love how saturated this is. I love, oh darn, I like when it's saturated. I like when it's just soft. I admire everybody's skill. I dabble in dyeing yarn a little bit here because Bobby does, and so I'm learning by helping out and stuff, but it still fascinates me how every skein can be different. Like most of these have been completely different than each other. All right, so next up we will do Bobby's from Here in Colors Dyeworks. He's a small batch dyer based in Roseburg, Oregon. He takes inspiration from nature in his local area, and he adds a little bit of a twist because he's a child of the 80s, so he likes to add bright colors. So you can find his yarn um, on the knottyknittress.com, and he is on Instagram. That's where you can find him. So this is his lovely skein. He dyed this using his what he likes to call his camo dye style. So if any of you have ever seen Knittress camo or citrus camo, this is dyed in a similar fashion. He puts them all in a pan, kind of does like a checkerboard with the colors in the pan of 3 skeins, and then you end up with this lovely style here. And then so like the skein next to it, even though it was dyed the same, doesn't work up exactly the same, but when they're knit up, they kind of do a really lovely thing. So I'm excited to show you guys these socks when they're done. Some fun thing about this is you look at this and you think, yes, I see the overall salmon and the blue and the black. Well, the only black in here is the speckles. This color right here is not actually black, and it's not showing up very lovely, but it's a very gray purple, and he created that color mixing the salmon and the sapphire. So it's this lovely like purple gray. It is not black there. The only black was used for speckles. So I have a couple of his skeins that I can show you because he was really wanting to create like something where he dyed. He created color. He wanted to mix colors. I just love that shade there. So this is what he originally thought he was gonna end up with, and you know that was his first go at mixing colors. Now this is salmon, and then mixed with the sapphire, and this was heavier on the salmon and less with the sapphire, and so you get a kind of like a brown, like a brown hue to that when that's heavier on the salmon and less on the sapphire. Now, then he did heavier on the sapphire and less on the salmon, and that is how he came up with the color that he wanted to use. That lovely shade of like purpley gray. So this one is, you know, of more brown, and then this one is more purpley gray. So salmon and sapphire is all that was used in all of these skeins right here. And that fascinates me. That's completely fascinating to me. Like, this lovely, this, and it's, you're not even getting to see the hues. Like there's like pink undertone hues, maybe a little bit, and very gray, very blue gray, and a pink undertone. So I just, that this is what I'm saying, when you know you can have the same three colors as anybody else, but you can create completely different looks with the colors uh than you would think, because you think salmon, sapphire, black, you think that that is what you're going to be faced with, but you could dye a skein that looks just like this. You could dye this skein. This is using salmon and sapphire, and then if you added a touch of gray in there or did it with speckle with that, who would know? You would never know. You would never know unless you were told. So it's completely fascinating. Also, just another show of how salmon and sapphire can work up is this is the salmon, and it's just the lightest, softest, soft shade of pink, peachy pink, and then a light shade of salmon. I mean sapphire. So you know, all of that, all of it comes from the same colors. I don't know, that part fascinated me. I should have held that till the end, because there's still one more skein left. It's my skein. So you guys know me if you've been here. I'm just creative. I like to try everything, and experiment with fiber and yarn and color. Last year's skein was not so great. It didn't go as planned. It turned out wonderful. It made really cool socks and a really nice hat, but it wasn't what I was going for. That's for sure. And this year's skein, I got what I was going for. So, I did resist. So what I did was I speckled very lightly overall the whole skein. The whole skein I speckled lightly. And then I took zip ties and I put them on, here, let's see if I can line it up how I did it. So I took zip ties and cinched in little sections. Super tight. Super tight zip ties. Super tight. And then I dipped the whole thing in black. And so this, I'm excited to see what this is going to do in a sock. And I was able to get like black with just a kiss of a speckle in the blue and the sapphire and the salmon. I tried to do sort of like a stripy speckle situation. Wasn't as easy as I thought it was when I flipped it, but I am overall happy with this. I can't wait to knit it up into socks. So that was like an hour of rambling. And it's not just rambling. I'm showing you guys all of the stuff. Of course, you know, I don't think that my skein will be available for purchase. There is one extra. I will probably do a giveaway with it, because I don't know that I'm gonna repeat that. We'll see. I don't know. It's very easy to repeat because it was just a light speckle and then resist zip ties. So I will probably be back the second week of September with, I hopefully I got 20 some socks to make, so I'm gonna need a little time for that, and I can't wait to see you guys back for the episode 2, or you know, of Just Add Color 2023. Thank you all so much for following along. If you would like to donate to my coffee account to support projects like this, I would greatly appreciate it. It is linked down below. It helps with like the freebies and the shipping and the goodies that go out with things like this, and then giveaways and stuff like that. Or if you would like to support my channel, the KnottyKnittress.com, that always makes me smile, and I do a little happy dance every time I get a sale. Until next time, take life one stitch at a time.